What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes, and this is going to be my banner review on Fae's Legendary Hero banner. I'll be rating all of the units based on their fodder as well as their potential, and I will also have a tier list regarding the Earth Legendary units. So if you do enjoy these kinds of comprehensive videos, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe. And with that said, let us begin. So here we have got Fae as the new Earth Legendary unit, and she's a blue infantry dragon. I didn't really expect this, but it does make sense because she is a lot more plot relevant than, Lilina, who already has a legendary version, and you actually need Fae to get the best ending in Binding Blade. So it does make sense for Fae to be a legendary unit, and she's also a divine dragon, so it's kinda unexpected, but it does make sense is what I'm saying. She's got Dazzling Breath as her preferred weapon, and this gives her +3 attack. And this weapon is always active in the enemy phase, but in the player phase, the opponent needs to be above 75% HP. So if those conditions are met, then she can do -5 debuff to all of the stats of the opponent during the combat, and she also has follow-up negation, so she can stop opponents from making up their follow-up attacks, and if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, she can get the guard effect. So Legendary Fae having this built into her weapon is super good, and the follow-up negation does make her a lot more bulky as well. Overall, a super solid weapon for a tank, and then she has got a preferred special in Life Unending. So this is basically Miracle that pre-charges at start of a map, and after it has triggered the first time on a map, it will restore 99 HP to Fae. So this is pretty much like a second life for Fae, but you have to keep in mind that there are skills like the Pulse Ties, Fatal Smoke, Pulse Smoke. All of these skills can be really annoying to the special, and there's also the fact that some of the units who have Dragon Effectiveness may just do a lot of damage and just double her. So the first time she's gonna be at 1 HP, and then their double is just gonna finish off Fae. So this might look really insane, but still it's balanced out by a lot of things that can just stop its utility. And also Fae doesn't have the highest HP. She's got like base 40 HP, so many units can pretty much bring her down to 1 HP if they hit really hard. And then she's got Distant Stance, which is basically a better distant counter, similar to how Close Reversal is a better close counter. So, I mean, we had this coming, honestly. So +5 resistance in the enemy phase with the distant counter is just perfect. There's just so many units who love having distant counter, for example Legendary Dimitri, but they don't actually have the highest resistance. So any bit of extra resistance is going to be extremely helpful. And I guess this is much better than Distant Ward. I mean, that does give you extra attack, but this is overall much better because you're able to retaliate back to dagger units and also bow units, unlike that. And she's got Dragon's Ire in her slot B. And Dragon's Ire is really good because she already has the guard effect from her weapon, and this is a better quicker post. So this also gets rid of the impact effects which the enemies might have, and a lot of times she will have to face Legendary Julia, who will be running an impact skill. So Dragon's Ire can bypass that and let her double. Now Legendary Julia still does insane amount of damage, and it's not a good matchup for Fae, but I'm just giving an example of how Dragon's Ire can be useful for the relevant matchups in Arena. And then she's got Defense Res Menace. Dragons are definitely the better users of Defense Res Menace or Defense Res Rain because of the adaptive damage that they've got. So overall, I feel like Legendary Fae is a pretty alright unit. I don't think she's really oppressive. She can be really good in players' hands, but she's not oppressive to face compared to many of the annoying Legendary units like Legendary Claude, for example, from the Earth season. And I'll be going over my rankings of how I will place Fae in that tier list, because the matchups of other Earth Legendary units do matter because you're going to be facing them all the time in Arena. And Fae seems like more of an Arena unit than she seems like a Ether Raids unit or something like that, or a general type of unit like Legendary Claude is, who's just useful in so many game modes. Basically, Fae seems to be made for the Arena game mode, I feel like. And she definitely has this Miracle, I guess, Unending Life, which makes her really unique and can make her annoying to kill. But again, she's not going to be as oppressive as many of the other legendary units, which is always appreciated. There are a lot of things though which Fae will struggle against because she is a dragon unit and she's in the Earth season with Julia, and there's also Legendary Claude and Legendary Alm who run null follow-up. So she's not going to be able to get the guaranteed follow-up from Dragon's Ire, and she can also not prevent the follow-up attacks with her weapon. So she gets hard countered by null follow-up, and there are 2 legendary units in Earth seasons who primarily use that skill. So that is really annoying, and the dragon effectiveness is also really annoying, and if there's a wind overlap, then she'll have to face Legendary Seeker, who can always apply the Fatal Smoke. So Fatal Smoke is not the biggest deal for Arena, but in Aether Raids it's a lot more annoying. And units who do insane amounts of damage can also bring her down to low HP, and there's also the fact that units can have pre-charged Ruptured Sky, and Ruptured Sky is a really common special because of its low cooldown, and many units who have -1 special cooldown do run Time Pulse and have Ruptured Sky pre-charged, so that can often just bring Fae down to 1 HP, and then if they have null follow-up or something like that, then they easily kill Fae. So yeah, Fae is not the hardest unit to beat, but she can definitely be fun in the player's hands, and I think that she's going to be having a stat spread similar to this. I've basically used the trailer to calculate that, so she is going to be having pretty good attack stat for a dragon for sure, and because it's Fae, she's of course going to be having high resistance. Her defense might not be the highest, but still it's fine for a tank, and her speed could be at the point where it's workable, or it's really min-maxed. I'm thinking that she's probably going to have a bit of speed because she also gets the speed debuff from her weapon, and if she has got more speed, then she can deny more follow-ups of the enemies who have like middling speed or stuff like that. Gonna be really good for scoring though, because she is likely gonna be a trainee unit who can score up to 190 BST after the first merge, so she's amazing for arena scoring if that is your concern, but as a unit she's not gonna be as good as many of the existing Earth legendary units, as we'll see in a moment. Fae's fodder is really top tier with that distance stance, which is a better distant counter. In any kind of scenario, it's gonna be better than the existing distant counter, and then she's also got Dragon's Ire and Defense Res Menace. And overall for her build, she definitely wants to have the distance stance skill because she has got high resistance, and Dragon's Ire is a good option, but you can always run Dragon Wall to make her a lot more bulky to make sure that she doesn't fall onto 1 HP against many hard-hitting units, and because of her high resistance, she can be a really fantastic user of Dragon Wall, and then you can just run Quicker Post as a Sacred Seal. For her slot C, Defense Res Menace is nice, but you can also run the Joint Drive skills like Joint Drive Attack or Joint Drive Speed. And for her Sacred Seal, Attack Defense Form or Shield Session can be a good option. Steady Breath can also be pretty nice if you're running Glacies, and you can always run like damaging specials like Glacies and Iceberg, because Life Unending, while can make Fae really bulky, it doesn't really give to her damage output, so that could be a bit annoying when you're trying to finish off the opponents. So that's why damaging specials could be an option if you prefer to have that over Unending Life, because the healing that she gets from Unending Life is only once per map. So after you have been down and used Unending Life, it will restore the HP, and after that it will be hard to charge up because it's a 5 cooldown special. And now let's rank all of the Earth legendary units and see who comes out on the top. And this should not be any kind of surprise to anyone that Claude is in his own tier. He's like the Meta Knight of Brawl. He's above everyone else, and it's just insane how strong he is. And he pretty much can beat all of these other legendary units below him. So this kind of tier list is based on their performance in arena, how well they can help you to win the matches, and also their scoring. Keep in mind that you can score the highest, but if you're not winning the matches, it doesn't really mean much. But if you're just winning every match but you're not scoring high, then you might not be able to stay in tier 21 or even go into tier 21. So both are really important, scoring and performance, and they should be in moderation. It should not be that there's a high scoring unit who does really bad or a really good unit who does really well but scores poorly. And their usefulness in other game modes like Aether Raids is also a bonus. So that's why Legendary Claude is in the top tier. He works anywhere, like in arena and Aether Raids offense, defense, especially with the safety fence, and just for in general content. He's extremely strong, king of the Earth season, and I don't think anyone is really going to be debating over this. He's just a class apart compared to all of the other Earth legendary units. And in the second position, I would say that Julia is the second best Earth legendary unit because of her high damage output, the effective damage that she has with her weapon on dragons, which is really helpful against Fae and legendary Tiki, and also legendary Grima, who are present in the Earth season. And she also has light and dark, which is extremely useful in arena as an omni lull skill. so that allows her to also score higher because it's a 300 SP slot B skill. If she runs a 300 SP slot A skill and runs a 300 SP slot C skill, then she can score as a 180 BST unit, which is definitely much better than, you know, some of the other legendary units like legendary Alm, for example. Legendary Alm is also pretty good, but legendary Alm's performance is also good in combat, but he can be frail at times, but still he's a range unit with true damage, but his scoring is kind of poor compared to Claude and Julia because he only scores 175 BST. And then in tier 3 we have got these kinds of mid-tier legendary units because they are really good in combat, but they have bad matchups against their own Earth legendary units. Like legendary Seliph, legendary Fae both get hard countered by null follow-up, and the units above them can give them trouble, so that is not good because you're going to be constantly running into them in the Earth season. And then we have legendary Grima, whose refine and remix was definitely really good and has made her much better, but she's a really low scoring legendary unit because of not having access to a dual skill or even you know, the pair up effect. So she's good in combat but lacks in scoring, and that's why she finds herself in tier 3. And these kinds of ranged legendary units are always better than melee legendary units because these range units have better threat range, so that can just threaten more area of the opponent, and that can just help you in the AI manipulation because the AI will loop into rallying each other, so that is really useful compared to many of these melee legendary units. And in the last tier we have got legendary Ike. It's just really sad how they did his remix and his refine. He needed so much more, and he has so much trouble against the modern legendary units. And legendary Tiki is right now waiting for her weapon refine. She has got a remix. I mean, we know what it is. It is basically a Spectrum far save skill, but that doesn't really help her too much to survive because at the end of the day, she's gonna be dying to a lot of the Earth legendary units above her. So she really needs a really good weapon refine to boost herself to even tier 2 or tier 3. So my final verdict is going to be waiting for that. But right now, from what we know about Tiki, I think tier 4 is fine for her, but still it's not the permanent position. So let me know what you think about my Earth legendary tier list in the comment section down below. I'm sure we can debate how insane legendary Claude is and how absurd he can be with his damage reduction and Fallen Star. So that is the discussion of legendary Fae, and now let's move on to the other units on this banner as well. Nifl is a fantastic unit because she has got Domain of Ice, and that can provide you with the damage reduction and also give you extra speed and resistance, and that is extremely useful in Aether Raid's defense as well as in offense just as a support unit. And she can actually function a lot better than Kempf because of the damage reduction she provides with Domain of Ice, and this can be extremely frustrating to face if you're facing a Katria Ball team or a lot of far save or near save armor units because it's hard to snipe them, so you're forced to enemy face them, and in that sense, Nifl can be really annoying with the flash effect of her Frostbite Breath. We also have Ascended Fiarm, who has got Null Counter Disrupt against range units, but she doesn't have any protection against the melee units after Nifl has flashed her. Even as a support, she can function well. I mean, she can give you the damage reduction like Flame does, but she can also provide you with some extra speed and resistance, and something like that could be really useful if you're using Ascended Fiarm. And there's also one other thing which Nifl can do over Flame, which is provide the Event Pulse tie support to just neutralize the specials of Sigurd, Legendary Lilina, Ophelia, Ullr, all of these units who have pre-charged specials, so she can work really well as a support too. Nifl's fodder is extremely top tier with ARD attack speed 4, and this is extremely useful for an offensive unit in Aether Raids, especially when you have well protected structures. If you don't really care about the Aether Raid skill, then you can also inherit the lull attack speed on her along with the dual rally skill. Ullr is a 6 slot light mythic unit, and I've used her quite a lot since her launch, even outside of her bonus season just as a counterpick mythic, and having used both Dagger and Ullr as my 6 slot mythic, Ullr is a good unit who can delete units, but overall I feel like Dagger is just so much better, gives you utility with Pathfinder, can be used with Gale Force teams, and also is a lot more bulkier than Ullr is. Ullr can definitely delete some of the threats, but against a lot of the bulkier threats with far save and stuff like that, her firepower is often not going to be enough to just straight up kill them. She can still be useful in some matchups, but for facing someone like Fallen Edelgard, for example, you will need to run Quick and Pulse so that she can have the pre-charged Deadeye. So her damage output is high, but because of the fact that we've got such bulky units, she can often fail to kill them. So I feel like if you have Dagger, then you don't really have a need of going after Ullr, but if you don't have any 6 slot mythic unit, then Ullr could be an option if you really like this legendary banner and the color sharing. Otherwise, Dagger is going to be returning at the end of November. Her fodder is really amazing with Deadeye and Time Pulse, which you can inherit at the same time, and she also has Life and Death 4, but Deadeye and Time Pulse overall will have a lot more value. Still, if you have Shannon, then you could definitely try to fodder off Shannon before Ullr, because these kinds of mythic units do have more value because they can be used in their bonus season in Ether raids. Charlotte is a premium axe infantry unit with really good defenses, and her weapon can give her -1 special cooldown and also true damage based on her attack stat. So she can be run with any kind of 2-turn special or also with Gale Force, and she works really well in the player phase. But unfortunately now she does face competition, an insane competition from Cyan Larce, who has got null follow-up in her weapon as well as the anti-guard effect, so she's also a top contender for a premium axe infantry unit. But Charlotte can be a pretty good unit in her own right in the player phase. Her fodder is also really good, so you can inherit to Sparrow 3 along with either Frenzy or Time Pulse at the same time. Triandra is a dark mythic dancer, and any kind of dancer is going to be providing you with value, and Triandra is no different in that aspect, but unfortunately because she's a dark dancer, she has to face Mila, who will always isolate her without any kind of fail. She's not really as resilient as a dancer to Mila like Dancer Eldigan is. Still, Triandra can be useful as a second dancer for her defense team or even just a second mythic unit. She is easily baitable unlike Mirabilis because of her high attack stat and the fact that she's a range unit, but she can be useful with her Frightful Dream, which can just provide the guard utility, and that guard utility can sometimes save you, especially against units like Ascended Fiorm who really rely on their special, and if Fiorm is affected by that guard effect, then she's not getting another round of Ice Mirror against the next enemy, so that could be useful for your defense team. But overall, she's a pretty solid dark mythic unit compared to a lot of the other ones, and we also have one sharing colors with her actually. Her fodder is really useful with attack speed push 4 and speed res rain, which you can inherit at the same time, and any kind of flying mage is going to be appreciating that fodder. Now we do have Constance in the normal summoning pool, who pretty much has the same fodder, but also provides you with the trace skill if you want to inherit that. Hell is another dark mythic unit color sharing with Triandra, and Hell is not exactly too good as a dark mythic unit. She does provide you with extra defense, and she can definitely be pretty annoying with the miracle effect and her weapon. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes that can be really funny to watch because people can literally get checkmated because even a plus unmerged Fallen Needle Guard cannot kill a unmerged Hell with this kind of weapon. But more than likely people are going to be having some kind of mage, if nothing else then Peony, who can finish off Hell. And that's why Mystic Boost is the best Sacred Seal for her, and she's not really as good as Note, Triandra or Bramimond. She's pretty much after them in my opinion, and if you don't really have any other dark mythics, then she could be useful, but someone like Note already gives you defense and she's going to be a staple for any kind of dark defense team. Health fodder is pretty decent, providing you with that distant counter and guard bearing, which you could inherit at the same time. So any kind of enemy phase flyer can appreciate both of these skills, and if nothing else, then you can definitely get the distant counter skill off of her. Compared to the last time when Mila was on a banner, Mila has definitely got her value increased because of safety fence, and because of safety fence, odd recovery teams are not as common, and if you're going to be facing an odd recovery team, then you can simply isolate them the second turn. So Mila definitely has a value increase in my opinion in the recent times because of safety fence, and that's why she can be a really amazing mythic unit to just stop the dancers and many annoying rally traps and stuff like that. But of course we do have Dancer Eldigan in the Grail pool, and pretty much any kind of good dark defense team is going to be using Eldigan, who's going to be having really high defense to prevent the isolation from Mila. Still, she can provide you with some extra stats with Nurturing Breath, and also gives you one extra turn in Ether raids, and that can definitely be useful in collecting pots and stuff like that. So she's fantastic as a pure support mythic unit, definitely better than Ullr for sure that we also have in this banner, and she also provides you with good fodder in Bracing Stance 3 and also Sabotage Attack. Sabotage Attack can be obtained from the Divine Code section, so she's a lot more useful for Bracing Stance, which is the skill only she has got right now, and that is really fantastic for any kind of tank who wants to get both defensive stats and also the guard effect. Legendary Alm is still a pretty solid archer, having that Luna Arc which gives him true damage based on the opponent's defense, and that is always going to be relevant as we get really bulky units, but unfortunately he has fallen off a bit compared to when he came out, where he was really dominating, because nowadays we have got a lot of damage reduction in the metagame, And even though he gets true damage from his weapon, that true damage is still reduced by the damage reduction skills that many bulk units can also utilize, and that overall lowers his damage output and his potential. Unfortunately, he doesn't score as high as many of the modern pair-up legendary units. He can only score 175 BST, so that could be annoying for scoring in Arena, which is really competitive nowadays. Legendary Alm's fodder is basically null follow-up, which you can also get from the Divine Code section, and has been available on so many other units, so it's not like you have to fodder him. And Darting Blow 4 is honestly one of the worst tier 4 skills, so that really doesn't have much of a value in itself. Duma's value keeps on increasing as we see more and more upgraded structures, and now we also have Safety Fence. So if you combine Catapult and Duma, you can basically snipe 2 lanes and potentially snipe enemies' Safety Fence, or even some really useful structure like Bolt Tower or Healing Tower, which is really amazing, and that is his main use. And outside of being a walking catapult, Duma also provides you with the Upheaval utility, which can just do the chip damage to the enemy, and that is pretty good with his attack boost that he also gives. So he's mainly useful for his utility, but even in combat he's not that bad as a Wings of Mercy unit because he does pack a punch, and that's primarily how he's going to be used. Duma's fodder is pretty underwhelming. Bullfighter has literally been given away for free in the Ephemera manuals, and Defense Res Solo is not the best solo skill to be used on many of the tanks, and they would much rather have a stand skill that can give him the guard effect, or even a unity skill that can give them a way of handling debuffs. Nyx is definitely the star of the red pool of this banner, and overall she's a pretty good unit and also a good fodder. So Ginunga Gap does make her as a unique red mage who has got this kind of Ice Mirror effect, and this Ice Mirror effect is active against any kind of enemy as long as she's initiating the combat. So that makes her a really strong player phase unit who can retaliate back with a lot of damage output even against the blue units if she can survive thanks to that damage reduction, and just pack a lot of punch. But in the enemy phase, she only gets the 40% damage reduction against mages and staff units. She provides you with a bit better fodder than someone like Legendary Alm from this banner because she can at least provide you with a bit better tier 4 slotty skill. So you can get Speed Res Solo 3 from Ullr and then inherit the version 4 and now follow up from Nyx. Mirabilis is a staple for anima defense teams, and she works really well as a mythic dancer, just overall super solid in providing utility, and because she's a melee dancer, she cannot be as easily baited out like Triandra. Flower of Ease does give you the in-combat debuffs, but you can always use her with Brave Sword and Zanbato Sword, and that can actually be really annoying for many of the opponents because Mirabilis will kill frail units like Plumeria, for example, or even Regan, which is going to be used by everyone if she runs the Zanbato Sword. So I've actually seen these kinds of Mirabilis, and they can be certainly pretty annoying. Whimsical Dream is really fantastic for debuffing the attack stat of the enemy, as well as buffing up the attack stat of your own units, and she can also be used with Odd Tempest. She's actually the only mythic dancer who can use Odd Tempest, and this allows her to match the movement of the cavalry units to dance them. Mirabilis gives you decent fodder and Fortress Defense Res 3, and also giving you either Sabotage Defense or Defense Res Gap, which you can inherit at the same time. She's the only unit in the game right now who has got Sabotage Defense, so it does have some utility, and the Gap skills can be a decent buffing skills, but they are probably going to be available at some point on Grail unit or Ephemera units. Legendary Roy is probably the least desirable unit on this entire banner for many people because neither does he provide you with any kind of useful fodder, nor does he provide you value as a unit. He's really lacking as a fire legendary unit, and he desperately needs some kind of remix, honestly. He's probably gonna get a remix next year because he's still a pair up unit, and he did come after all of these other legendary units which we are getting a remix of right now. So he doesn't really score as high as many of the modern legendary units. He only scores 175 BST, and even though he scores low, he's not really as powerful as someone like Legendary Alm, who also scores the same. And this is because of the fact that he's a sword infantry unit with a weapon that doesn't give him any kind of extra stats. It has distant counter and effective damage against dragons, but right now he's really outclassed as a sword infantry unit, and Human Virtue is basically like a glorified oath skill, which is also not too unique compared to a lot of really strong exclusive skills which units have. If you're looking for a Dragon Slayer, then someone like Legendary Marth is a lot more potent, especially now that he's getting a remix and also a weapon refine, and can actually score higher than Legendary Roy because of our dual infantry 4 and the fact that he's got a 300 SP slot B skill. So if you run the dual skill and also run a 300 SP slot C skill, then Legendary Marth actually scores higher than Legendary Roy. So Roy completely gets outclassed as a fire legendary unit now that Marth is getting the new stuff. His fodder is also really underwhelming. Bonus doubler has been present on Summer Ogma, and honestly it's not that great of a slot A skill because you're really weak to panic and lull skills, and only in the Aster season you can kinda use it safely with Ashera, but still there are just so many useful slot A skills which can provide you with some unique effects. Overall, this banner has got good value in the blue pool with Legendary Fae, Ullr, and also Nifl, and there are 6 mythics available in this banner, 2 Anima mythics, 2 Dark mythics, and 1 Light mythic, but it's not the easiest to get the unit you want specifically on these kinds of banners. Red is just a dead type of pool, and I don't think many people are going to be summoning on it. The problem with this kind of banner is that it doesn't really provide you with good color sharing among legendary and mythic units. Like, you could try to get Ullr, but if Ullr color shared with someone like Naga maybe, then you could have more mythic value. Or if Legendary Alm was color sharing with Claude or Leaf, then you would get the legendary value right there. And same goes for Legendary Fae. She doesn't really share colors with any kind of legendary unit, so unless you really like using Ullr in Ether Raids, I would say that if you're a big Fae fan, you could probably try to, summon for her later on when she color shares with another legendary unit if you're trying to get that value out of the color sharing among the legendary units for arena purpose, for merging them up. And this is gonna be a skippable banner for most people, I feel like. This banner doesn't really stand out too much in terms of unit value or fodder. These units can be solid, but they're not really must-haves in my opinion. And their fodder can range from extremely useful to really annoyingly bad, so that can be a bit frustrating. And we're also going to be getting some other banners which you could look forward to next month. Seeds of Fodlan is going to be getting a rerun from Twitter, and that is going to be having a spark. That banner does have Ingrid, Marianne, Dudu, and Linhardt. And I know many people are going to be caring about those characters, so you could save up and spark on that banner. We're going to be getting a new special banner at the start of November. It could be a ninja themed banner, but I'm not really too sure. Legendary Tiki and Legendary Marth are getting a remix, so they're going to be getting their own banner as well in mid-November, I believe. So you can spark them. And at the end, we'll have November's Mythic banner, which is, in my opinion, a lot better than this Legendary banner in terms of unit value, because here you've got Legendary Sigurd, Plumeria, and there could be Brave Marth in the red pool as well, because we don't really have any other red unit in the line. The next one is Muspel if they skip Brave Marth, but I think that would be too soon. So Brave Marth definitely has a pretty good chance of color sharing with Legendary Sigurd and Plumeria. And then blue color could have Fallen Dimitri or Brave Erika. I think they'll probably have Fallen Dimitri because I think he was in the line before Nifl, and Nifl just skipped him over. The new mythic is probably going to be green color with color sharing with Dagger and probably Gatekeeper. So if you want a 6 slot mythic unit for light season, then Dagger is really good, and she will be color sharing with the new unit. And the colorless pool is also really solid in terms of unit strength. So next month's banner is just a lot better if you're saving up for that. And it will also have 2 Choose Your Legends units if we are lucky. So you can look forward to that. So yeah, this is not really that must pull banner in my opinion. So let me know what you think about this banner in the comment section down below. I'll love to hear that. And make sure to share this video with your friends who are thinking of summoning on this banner. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps me tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, then you can always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member. And if you want to see more Fae Analysis videos, then make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as being a dragon in the Earth season against Legendary Julia. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.